Welcome into a special edition of Bleav and Panthers here on the Bleav Podcast Network. I'm your host, Desmond Johnson, joined by Schuyler Callihan from Sports Illustrated and the Panthers' all-time leading rusher, Jonathan Stewart. We had to come on Monday instead of a Tuesday because we got breaking news that just dropped. In Rappaport just reported here on Twitter that the Carolina Panthers are re-signing Cam Newton to a one-year deal. Guys, your thoughts on where did this come from? Thoughts on this?
I mean,
Schuyler, you broke the news, didn't you?
No, I didn't break it, but yeah, I mean, I did have it. Yeah. I mean, Canales did talk about it last week that they were going to add a third quarterback, and he talked about how they didn't want somebody developmental in that position. You got to have somebody with veteran experience, and that way, if Bryce goes down and crap hits the fan, you're not throwing somebody out there that's not been on the field before. So I think it makes sense. Cam said he wanted to come back under the right circumstances, so here we are.
They fixed the O-line, well, from what we can see on paper. So you got the interior fixed if Cam has to trot out there. What do you think, Stu, about Bryce being tutored by Cam Newton? Did we lose your audio?
Here we go.
First of all, I was on Twitter trying to repost this.
Speechless.
But I'm speechless at this moment. Like, this is crazy, man. Like, the moment that you think, Cam's done, he's not.
Man,
this is just one of those things.
This is crazy. What's even crazier is that it's April 1st and it's April Fool's. We'll be back just a bit. Bleav in Panthers. Here we go.
Jonathan Stewart gets in, fights for more yardage. Stewart to the mouth of the goal line. Touchdown! Wow, that's just pure Stewart right there. That's a big-time run by Jonathan Stewart.
Welcome to Bleav in Carolina Panthers here on Bleav Podcast Networks. Do you believe? Rate and subscribe the show on all major podcast platforms and subscribe to our social media channels on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Video available weekly at youtube.com/@Tobacco Road Sports Radio.
Do you believe?
All right, okay, we're going to start it over for real now. Bleav in Panthers here on the Bleav Podcast Network. So you can catch the video each week at the YouTube channel, youtube.com/@Tobacco Road Sports Radio. The audio is on the Bleav Podcast Network each week. We're presented by our sponsors over at Cut and at Bet Online. Going a little early this week, doing it on Monday instead of our traditional Tuesday. So hopefully you guys got the message. I see some guys starting to filter in now. This week we will discuss the signing of Jadeveon Clowney, which happened after we went off last week, I believe. It's always like the day or so right after they sign somebody, and a couple of other little smaller signings for depth that we'll talk a little about here, and what that means, and potentially the return of Stephon Gilmore to the Carolina Panthers after he left last year for the Dallas Cowboys for some depth there, which we definitely need in the secondary on the defense. Open mailbag. If you've got anything you want to talk about, anything you want to discuss, you can do so here. Like Reverend Saul, who's been in and out the past couple of weeks. Nice. My favorite podcast on my birthday. Happy birthday, Reverend Saul. Happy birthday. Happy April 1st to you. Some of y'all did kind of catch on our April Fool's joke from the beginning of the show. I appreciate it. I mean, hey, I almost fell for it earlier this morning when I saw it. I was like, yo, what in the world is this?
We did have Stu fall for it for like a half.
He did one before we came on. Like, what?
Really?
Oh, man.
Yeah, I was like, who was Cam? Where's
he going?
Panthers?
So we'll get into some of that too. If anybody's got anything you're upset about this week, you can get into that as well. I kind of do. It has nothing to do with NFL football. It actually has to do with March Madness and a particular fan base that's out there. We'll get to that in a little bit too. But we got a lot to get to. We'll get to all of it. Let me read the reads first, and then we'll get to the Jadeveon Clowney signing. Starting off with Bet Online. The tournament is here. Bet Online is your bracket headquarters for this season with the best bracket contest out there. Odds, lines, and info on every game and every round right up to the national championship. You can access the most up-to-the-minute wagering information anytime from your desktop or your mobile devices, and even track your bracket real time all the way through the tournament. Head to Bet Online today and get in on all the action. Remember to use the promo code Bleav, BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online, the game starts here. And if you are in the state of North Carolina, you are able to bet pretty much on anything at this point through your mobile device. And if you're doing so, you should be able to use Cut. That's a new sports betting app that's one of our sponsors now here at Bleav. It allows you to basically, it's a peer-to-peer social betting platform that's legal in 40 states, including North Carolina. Cut has a customizable odds, tracking capabilities, and an entire social network with group chats, user profiles, and rewards. All payments, no need for Venmo. Use the promo code Bleav, BLEAV, for a 10% welcome deposit bonus. Don't forget the promo code Bleav. Cut, put your money where your mouth is. And I would think it's a safe bet to put your money on the UConn Huskies going forward. They are throwing off like 1990 UNLV vibes right now. Like, they're just blowing everybody out. Like, it's crazy. I'm kind of glad my Tar Heels aren't in it, because we would have been in their path on the way there. We already played them once this year and lost to them. And that was the one game this year where I left it like they were just a better team than us. Like, they just better. And they got to play Alabama in the Final Four next week.
That's going to be a good game, I think.
I think it's going to be a good game. If Alabama's hitting threes, then it should be a good game. I saw enough from Alabama.
That Sears kid is pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, Carolina was lucky he was off in the first half, and then he kind of got on in the second. And even though Carolina lost by 2 in the Sweet 16, RJ Davis went 0 from 9 for 3. If my All-American can't hit a 3 and we lost by 2, I can accept that. That's fine. On the other side, though, before we get into the football, I've had some trolls coming at me from the fan base of Duke. The Duke University troll fan base, mad at me. And I'm like, Carolina ain't played since Thursday. Like, why are you bringing me into this? Like, NC State beat you. You know what I mean? Like, the fact that NC State beat you not just once, but they beat you twice in the past, 2 weeks, and you're mad at me because I'm having fun with it? That's the nature of the game, baby. Like, I don't know what you want me to do.
You guys have known for a while. Like, I've not been a huge advocate of NC State. I don't really care for them. The hatred's not really there anymore. But this is y'all's fault. I'm just saying.
Carolina's fault?
Carolina. Like, if Carolina beats them in the ACC championship game, they're not even in this.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
shout out to NC State.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is crazy.
DJ Burns versus Zach Edey is going to be fun.
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to it. And it's crazy as a Carolina fan for me to sit here and say I'm rooting for State to win this. It's shades of 83. It's not exactly 83. I see people wanting to throw it on it already. It's not exactly 1983 yet, but it could be if they do this, because in 1983, that Jim Valvano team had to go through Virginia and Ralph Sampson in the Final Four, and who was National Player of the Year.
Phi Slama Jama.
Yeah, and then they had to go through Phi Slama Jama in Houston, the number 1 team in the country in the national championship, and it's tracking to do the same thing. They go through Purdue, they go through UConn. If they can do that, then yeah, this is – Jim Valvano is upstairs somewhere dancing, running around, looking for somebody to hug, because this is incredible. They've won 9 straight, I believe it is. They lost 3 of their last 4 going out of the regular season.
This man was about to get fired.
Yeah.
In the ACC tournament.
Yo, this thing kicked in an extension. When he won the ACC tournament, he got an extra 2 years. the fans wanted him out. Like, I was watching people kind of like, we want to fire Kevin Keats. 2 days later, Kevin Keats is great. This team is awesome. We love it. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. I've seen so many people wearing Wolfpack sweaters and like
DJ Burns and came and saved the day. I got a question. Who would you start a team with? Ely or Burns?
College ball or pro ball?
College.
I'd go Edey just because he's so much bigger. Like,
it's just a problem. It's just a serious problem. I love the fact college.
What about pro?
Can Edey jump? Can he shoot a jump?
I wouldn't take either one.
Yeah. I don't know.
If you had to take the two, one of the two.
Probably Edey, I guess. I mean, he's going to be the 2-time player of the year. Like, that hasn't happened in a long time. And Purdue looks good too.
He's not as mobile as I would like, but I feel like that his size would be able to transition to the league better, right? Because I feel like in the league you have a little bit more spacing. Right.
I did see I think it was Peter Schrager that tweeted out this morning something about that multiple NFL executives are wanting DJ Burns to go work out.
I would. I don't know why Dave Dorn got him out there on the offensive line
to see if he can play tackle. They love his footwork, so that'd be crazy. If he somehow lands on the NFL roster.
It's up Panthers. That's the left tackle.
I mean, if we're being totally honest, if we're being totally honest, he has a brighter future. Well, not a brighter future, but I think he has a better chance of making an NFL practice squad than he probably does an NBA roster.
Yeah, I mean that's like G League, like you know what I mean, in terms of where he might end up. Same for like Armando Bacot. It's crazy to me how big men. If this was 15 years ago, Zach Edey's the number 1 pick in the NBA draft.
I mean, my man put up 29 points the other night, bro.
Yeah,
against Duke.
Yeah,
Edey had what, like 40?
40? Yeah, he dropped 40. Yeah. And I don't know what the world happened in that UConn game because I was listening to it on the radio, and it was like 28-23 or something at the half. I got out the car for like 5 minutes.
Explosion.
Dude, 30-0 run? What? Like, how does that even happen? Like, aren't you a D1 school too? Like, what in the world? Well, they didn't score. So
North Carolina scored 55-37 against Duke in the second half.
I mean, it's just crazy. And I've been getting it because I've been calling Duke soft.
They are.
They're soft. And like, apparently I'm the only one in America who's been saying it because they've been coming at me. And I'm like, the lady on the sideline let off the other night. Like, you know, when they're doing the interviews with the coaches, she's the very beginning of the game. She's like, hey, welcome to the game, blah, blah, blah. These Duke players have had to hear nationally how soft they are all week long, and they're trying to prove it wrong. I'm like, like, there it is right there. And then they showed it last night in the second half. State just bullied them, man. Burns just bullied these boys all over the floor, and they just went out. And then bye-bye Duke. You did the country a favor, NC State, by getting Duke out of here. So salute to you guys, and I'm rooting for State to finish this off. But it's gonna be a tall task. We're gonna have to go through 2 1 seats to do it, and I'm not writing you off anymore. I've learned my lesson. I'm not gonna root for you because I feel like I'll jinx you if I do, because I know how that works. So I'll still pick against you, but deep down, I'm rooting for you. I hope y'all get this out. Let's get over to the Panthers and some football. The biggest news that came out of Panther Nation last week was the signing of Clowney. Jadeveon Clowney from, the Ravens was the last place he played. And this was something that they've been circling around. We talked about it last week, and I joked that he probably would wait a little bit before he signed. He waited like, I don't know, 8 hours after I said that. And then he was like, let's go ahead and do this. But I didn't understand the backstory. We knew he was from Rock Hill. He played high school here at Rock Hill. But I didn't realize how connected he still was to the community here in Rock Hill. His family is here. His church is here. His off season is here still. And I read something where he said something about his grandfather or somebody passed away last year, and it kind of clicked home for him that he wanted to be closer to home. So the Panthers took the lead early in this. He talked to the Jets. I think the Ravens were still involved, but he'll come in here, former number 1 overall pick from the Houston Texans. I know you guys have seen the infamous clip of him in college versus Michigan hitting the running back,
popping people's helmets off.
Yeah, that kind of got him the number 1 pick, in my opinion. But thoughts on Clowney joining this defense, and thoughts on what the Panthers have done overall. They've kind of took the $30 million that Brian Burns wanted, and they've turned it into 3-star. Yeah,
you know what they're doing. You know what they're doing? I just watched this the other day. They're playing Moneyball. They're recreating Brian Burns in the aggregate.
Oh, you're right. You're absolutely right. Have you seen Moneyball, Stu?
I have not. So I'm looking at you guys.
Brad Pitt, Jonah Hill.
I'm gonna have to watch that tonight. Then
it's a great movie. It's based on a true story. It's based on what year was it? I don't know. The Oakland A's,
2001 or 2.
Yeah, the Oakland A's basically let like Jason Giambi and like all these. Yeah, they couldn't afford them, so they all had to go. They all went to the Yankees or Red Sox or whatever. And the GM that they brought in, Billy Beane, who's played by Brad Pitt, basically he funds this kid, Jonah Hill, that's working for, I think, the Red Sox. And he's like a number analytic guy. So he decides he's going to just take the money that they couldn't spend and replace those players with numbers. And what Schuyler just said, I didn't think about it until you said it out loud. You're absolutely right. They just literally just kind of replaced Burns with Wanham, with Clowney, and with Jewell, I guess.
Chase on too.
Yeah. And if you throw Louvu in that mix, they replace those 2 guys with those 4. Those guys are going to start. And actually, in Jewell's case, I don't know if it's much of a drop off to be. I love Louvu. I love him.
Just think about it this way. I know the situation last year where Burns couldn't get sacks because he wasn't able to rush the passer because they were playing from behind. But when you look at DJ Wanham, it's kind of a similar situation, but he had Daniil Hunter on the other end. So he had Daniil Hunter getting his amount of sacks too. So he was eating, but they ended up having the same amount of sacks, Burns and Wanham, in 2023. So you get that, you get Clowney, Chase on, and then Josie Jewell, whatever he can do. You spent the money on 4 players rather than giving it to one. And I think now your defense is probably more – it may not have that elite talent like Brian Burns is, but I think the group as a whole in that front seven is much stronger than what it was a year ago. And don't forget about A'Shawn Robinson too.
Right. Yeah. I saw he had a super high run defense grade.
If he plays how he's supposed to play, Derek Brown is going to be at a whole different level.
Derek Brown might be the best defensive tackle in the league.
I wouldn't even say with Aaron. Yeah, especially with Aaron Donald out, he's definitely the best.
I was trying to think, who else would you put?
It's not a might in my question.
Who would you put up there, like against him, like to even debate at this point? Who else is another great DT that's out there that would
Pittsburgh?
Hayward.
Okay.
Vita Vea's. I mean, he's a different.
Yeah.
I'd have Derek Brown over Vita Vea.
Yeah,
we're gonna have to pay some money to Derek Brown.
But what this does though, it really kind of solidifies, why you pay him now. You know what I'm saying? Because he actually you're setting him up to succeed. You know what I'm saying? So, you got the draft coming. So I think you can really cover all angles right now.
Mark Burks puts up. My bracket is busted like a P. Diddy party.
Oh Lord!
Do we want to touch on the Diddy stuff going on? Because he's
no Diddy,
no Diddy.
That's about it.
No comment.
No comment. I saw he was riding bicycles around Miami yesterday or something. So apparently he's unbothered. We'll see what happens there. But usually, if the FBI shows up to your house, they already got something on you. They just double checking. So we'll see what drops from that here in a little bit. I like the Clowney signing. I like the fact that with Clowney, we might end up getting Stephon Gilmore back here as well, because I was sitting there thinking about it with all the stuff that they've added in free agency and the draft's not here yet. Where's the weak spot on the roster right now? And it's still secondary. Like, do we have any DBs that can play? Like, JC Horn's still here, but who else is going to be playing cornerback and safety for this team?
I think safety they're fine because they got Jordan Fuller. They added Nick Scott. I think they'll probably draft a safety too, which I think we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
But cornerback, that's got to get fixed. I mean, you got Dane Jackson's a decent player, but you've got to have him as a backup. And Troy Hill's, you can't start Troy Hill because he's a nickel. Like he's really, really good at being a nickel. You don't want to move him to being outside. So I think corners definitely one on the defensive side. And then offensively, I mean, obviously they still need a wide receiver, another wide receiver. They seem to be very bullish on Tommy Tremble for whatever reason, but I still think they could use another tight end.
Didn't they just give him some money last year? Didn't they up him or something? Tommy Tremble. Or am I thinking about another?
I think it was Ian Thomas.
Ian Thomas is on this roster?
No, Ian Thomas was 2 years ago. He's reworked his deal twice.
Okay.
To stay.
So, yeah, that's interesting because it's not like he's getting the majority of the playing time or anything like that. So we'll keep an eye on that as we get to this weird gray area of the calendar where free agency's kind of petered out and the draft is still about a month away. We'll start talking about what should the Panthers do with the second round because honestly, once you get out of the first round, the Panthers can kind of dictate what happens going forward with the 33rd pick overall at the top of the second and then the 39th pick. The Panthers have 2 of the top 40 picks in this draft. And I think they might try to go to wide receiver there because they didn't really – let me pull up a list of what they've done.
I just want us to really sit back and actually, be grateful for the situation we're in right now.
Yeah.
Because looking into this offseason, if we were in, November, you're probably just kind of shaking your head and just man, our offseason, how are we going to get better, right? We've gotten better, and we still have room to get better, just by grabbing players, right? So shout out to the front office right now for just making it happen.
With Clowney, he's 31. He's not going to be an every down pass rusher like Burns was, but it's a $20 million deal, 2 years. For Clowney, if anything, he should be great to be able to teach, like, how do you say his name? Callihan Chasen, DJ Johnson, who they traded up for last year in the draft. And we didn't see a whole lot of last year in terms of impact. Maybe having Clowney there with him, maybe that helps out there. He did play all he started 15 games last year for the Ravens, and he played in all 17. So it doesn't seem like he's not durable as of late. He played at least 14 games.
He had his best sack season last year, right? 9.5.
Yeah, 9.5. He's never had double-digit sack season, but he's always been like 7, 8, 9, pretty much every year. When did he get drafted? He's been in the league for
2014.
Like 2014? Yeah, it's about 10 years. He's probably, other than Deontay Johnson in the trade, which was a steal, in my opinion, trading Dante Jackson, you were going to cut anyway to get basically a starting wide receiver. Between that, and I'm just kind of scrolling through the rest of the stuff that they've signed. Dane Jackson, is this a guy that you think might be able to start at cornerback, Schuyler? He signed on a 2-year, $14.5 million deal.
I mean, I think it's more of kind of like a Band-Aid deal where if they can grab a corner in the draft that they really like in the second round at either 33 or 39, then Dane can start until that guy's ready. Or if they can find someone at free agency that can start, then they can kick Dane to being a depth guy. But if worst comes to worst, then he can start for you. So I don't think it's a terrible situation that they're in. It's been worse, don't get me wrong. But like with Clowney, I think, like we talked about recreating Burns in the aggregate, like I don't think Clowney's like I still think he's got 2 more good years of football left in him. Like I really do. Yeah. And with him being back here in his home, not necessarily his hometown, but home area, sometimes that can push you a little bit more, right? That can give you a little bit more extra motivation. And with he kind of realizing that he's on the back end of his career, I mean, he spoke about it like, I've been around for a long time and, I've got to keep producing because if I don't, then they're going to let me – then I'm not going to get a call. So I think that stuff kind of fuels him being able to play at home for the team that he grew up right down the road from. I think they're going to get 2 really good years out of him. I wouldn't be shocked if he does post a double-digit sack year one of these next 2 years.
I'm like Stu said a couple minutes ago, I'm just happy to have something to look forward to because I think we were kind of looking at it like, oh God, like what, like what are we supposed to do in this offseason? Are we just going to have the same episode every week? And it feels like a brand new team again. And I'm tentative because I don't want to get as high as I was last year at this point where I was just super excited about what they were doing, just blindly believed in the coaching staff and everything else. And it was going to work out just like a movie. And it fell completely apart. And I don't want to be there again, but it's really hard not to be optimistic about what they've done with the money they had and the holes they had, especially on defense. Some of the guys that left via free agency or via trade, it feels like we can be competitive. Really, the main question now is shifted back to Bryce Young, in my opinion. Like, did they make the right choice with Bryce Young? And I think we're going to really get some answers to that this year because Canales seems to understand that he can't stand back there for 5 or 6 seconds and wait for somebody to get open. Like, they got to get this thing out and get it going. And that's how Geno Smith got his bag working with Canales, was that same type of offense. Really, that's how our boy Baker just got his bag, doing the same thing in Tampa. And if you make Baker and Geno Smith both look like $100 million quarterbacks, like in a season, I'm salivating over what he can do with Bryce Young because we did see some flashes of Bryce last past season where there wasn't enough to convince you that he's the future for the next 12 years, but it was enough to be curious. Like, okay, you got me curious. Let me see a little more. And they just never got a chance to really show it. But
Stu, give me your take on this because this is kind of my thinking on the 24 season. This isn't really about wins, right? It's about taking that step, developing Bryce. If they win 4 or 5 games, but it looks like the team as a whole is much better, they're playing in more one-score games, they're not getting blown out. That to me is a sign of progress. Like, even if you are 4-13, you can still make significant strides. You doubled your win total technically.
I mean, yeah, I was say, if we're comparing things to last year, I mean, anything over what 2 wins.
2.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's progress. It's always going to, but I will say it's always going to be about wins.
Yeah, I was going to ask that too. Like, you kind of still want to win the
this
game.
Is like, this is a performance-based business, and if you're not performing, and there's other teams that are outperforming you that shouldn't be, you know what I'm saying? You don't want to be the last on the totem pole. Mm-hmm. And so I do agree with you thinking, 4 or 5 win season is progress, right? But I almost feel like how our roster is being built right now, man. It's not. We can be a 5-6 team. We can be a 10-7 team. Like how many games they play next year? 17.
I think it's still 17. I don't know. The owners might have slipped another one in there.
Not yet.
Not yet.
But obviously, right now saying 10 game, 10 win season, you guys look at me and say, man, you're gas right now. You know what I'm saying? But I think a 5 to 6 win season next year is doable. Absolutely. And I feel like last year, looking at our situation, there was a couple games where it's like, dang, all we had to do was just do this and we would have won certain games.
My point about it is like fans should not get on the fire Dave Canales train one year in because they win 4 or 5 games. Like that should not be the end all be all in how we evaluate Dave Canales and his job. Like
everybody needs to get off this whole like instant gratification segment.
Everybody, for that. Everybody.
Like the clean slate is clean. Like yesterday was Easter Sunday. The veil has been torn. So like let everything just be what it is right now. We got a new coaching staff. We got a sophomore quarterback that is in position and is getting the things needed for him to go out there and showcase his talent. I think a lot of it is just, how are we going to build our depth? You look at the offensive line. I still think, the center position, Austin Corbett, obviously they see something in him and, him being a smart player, because playing center, you have to be brilliant. You have to have, the smarts and the ability to make decisions on the fly and be right about the decisions that you're making. So I can see them bringing in another center, to really solidify the competition there and just adding depth. I mean, what we've learned over the last 6 years, hopefully, is we can't do nothing without an offensive line. It all starts there. Exactly. So, I mean, and if you even look at like the defense, right? Like the defense needs the offensive line to be really great because if you have a really great offensive line, you're resting your defense. Like everything touches the offensive line. So
the defense isn't taking short fields when they come out like on their own 20 because Bryce got sacked 3 times. And
I can't even tell you how many times over the last 3 years that after a game we're in the locker room talking to players and it was like almost on repeat. Did you guys feel tired there in the fourth quarter because you were out on the field for so dang long? Like that's just what it was.
So I think we can, and I think our offensive, if we look at our starting offensive line right now, I feel like we're pretty good.
Yeah.
It's the depth. It's the depth. This is a long season. Guys are going to get banged up. And so you need to like release the pressure of these guys needing to be on the field like every single game because it's not going to happen. And it's one of those things where if a guy goes down, that one game that guy goes down, that there's no one else to step in for, and they lose that game, that can be a ripple effect. And that's where you see teams, especially when you need like a 3-game stretch where you come out of there at least 2-1 rather than 1-3 in their division games. And so you just got to make sure you have depth.
Stephen Bailey says it's the NFC South. Anything is possible. Like, I mean, Who are you looking at in the NFC South right now? And we were talking about this the other day that we will start bringing on Bleav hosts for NFC South teams as we get closer to the draft and hear about their needs, what they feel like they've done in free agency, and how they're feeling, so we can kind of catch a vibe around the division. What team are you looking at in the NFC South after all this free agency stuff that improved the most? Is it Carolina? Because I mean, for
It's
what they
probably
did,
Atlanta.
Atlanta.
Atlanta, I think it all hinges on Kirk Cousins. Like,
yeah, do they have a rushing pass rush? Yeah,
they spent a lot of money on the defense last offseason. I remember that they had like 10
that was like
starters,
second. That was like secondary or something like that, wasn't it?
I thought they flipped the whole defense out.
They got some. Oh my gosh, I can't think of his name off the top of my head. I'm going blank. Buddy from the Saints.
And I know they got a lot of. They've drafted a lot of young skill position players on offense. Robinson at running back, Pitts at tight end. I forgot the wide receivers' name.
They was tripping using Robinson last year. They for like a 5-game stretch there. They weren't really utilizing him the way they should have been.
He's going to be a problem. Like when they finally realize what he is, that he is going to be a serious problem. Not just in the NFC South, but around the league. I guess Atlanta, Tampa.
Yeah, I mean they got Onyemata. Onyemata's the one I was talking about. Grady Jarrett's obviously really good.
Grady Jarrett.
AJ Terrell's getting better and better. Jesse Bates at safety. Like they've got some pieces, but the offense is going to have to carry it.
Okay, so and in Tampa, they re-signed Baker Mayfield. They re-signed Mike Evans, but they don't have Dave Canales. He was the offensive coordinator. He's here. Yeah. So I don't know what they're going to look like, although they offensively they look like they should be fine. It just depends on what they do with it. And then the Saints, I don't know what they did. I know they cut Mike Thomas, and Kamara's a year older. Who's the quarterback? Is it still Derek Carr? They let Winston go. Winston's in Cleveland now, if I'm not mistaken.
They lost their nucleus in Jameis, in my opinion. He seemed like he was the heartbeat.
Crab leg sign or whatever. You know what? Jameis is going. Here's my prediction: Jameis Winston is going to play at least 5 or 6 games for Cleveland this year.
If I'm Cleveland, I'm looking at that whole situation with.
Is that the worst trade of all time? Is that the worst trade of all time?
Like, look, if Deshaun Watson don't play well the first 4 games, chalk it up.
I mean, what is it? What did he get? 200 and something guaranteed?
230 million, I think.
Because that's a lot of pressure, bro. Like it's a lot of pressure for him. Like knowing that he got paid all this money.
When did
it's like, hey, are you still wanting to play football?
Nope. It seems like the only one sitting there. Like that's what I was like, how many years?
It wasn't because he was injured last year.
Yeah, right? But he got hurt in the year. Well, he played and he got hurt in the year.
Kept on talking as if like, oh, is he hurt or is he just doesn't want to play? Like, what was that whole situation up there?
Well, the year before that, they had him and he was getting paid, but he wasn't playing because all of his legal stuff was going on, right? Because
but last year,
like 3 years ago.
Like last year, though, they were like up there talking as if he was just choosing not to play.
Yeah,
the organization was like, I guess he just doesn't want to play today. I'm like, what?
It's so Cleveland. It's so
we need to fact check that whole situation.
Yeah, we'll have to figure that out. My in-laws are in Cleveland, so it's like they got so excited. Now, granted, there was a few of them that did not want anything to do with Deshaun Watson, and looking back on it, they were probably right. But the last year, Deshaun Watson was like in the conversation, top 5 QB. Was before COVID. It was like 2019. I think it was.
That's the market right there. Like I was talking to my buddy last night about how long the Vegas Golden Knights have been an NHL team. And I was like, it's just crazy how they were a team 3 years before COVID started. We use COVID as like a marker because it's so long from that. Like it's crazy.
We do. We use it. It's like, was that before COVID or was that during COVID or that happened? But he got that money before that because didn't he have like a playoff game against Pat Mahomes? Was that the Houston game? They were winning and then Pat Mahomes just went all Pat Mahomes and like Kansas City came back?
Might have been. I can't.
Was that 2019?
Okay, so I just looked up the situation with Deshaun Watson last year.
Oh.
He had a shoulder injury and he just wasn't ready to play. And if you're a quarterback and you got a bad shoulder, hey, it's kind of hard to play quarterback with a bad shoulder. And people were kind of giving him a hard time last year, saying like, well, like, do you want to play? I was like, well, of course I want to play. And so I think really like Cleveland fans are probably up there just being aggressive and tired and wanting to win and trying to point blame at Deshaun Watson and the fact that he got paid a lot of money and thinking to themselves, well, he got paid all this money. He should just play. I mean, well, you can't if you can't play if you can't play quarterback with a bad shoulder.
To their defense, like this is a fan base that has just been traumatized with quarterbacks. I mean, this is
you know what? They should move.
They should.
They tried that. Remember,
they had
the team meeting it. They gave them back.
Fan base that's got the jersey with all the crossed out names and the duct tape and stuff. Like,
y'all gotta look when this is over. Go online to YouTube. I'm sure it's still there. Look up "Factory of Sadness" video on YouTube. There's a guy standing outside Brown Stadium, and he's just railing. This is like 11 years old. He's just railing on and on and on about Cleveland. It's like, why do we spend our Sundays in this factory of sadness? We come here every Sunday rooting you on, thinking you're going to do something. You disappoint us every time. And at the very end, it's like, I'll see you next Sunday. And he just like walks off. You got to go look for it. It is fantastic. But
that's how you show up every year. You show up every week because it's entertainment.
Look, they built the Houston Texans. Like that might be the worst trade of all time because they gave up so many first-round picks, and now you're paying $50 million plus a year to Deshaun Watson guaranteed, and you're not even guaranteed he's going to be able to play. Like, and this is year, I think 3 of the they still got like 2 more years of this. So Mark Burke says the optics the Browns wanted to avoid by bringing in Winston and not re-signing Flacco, to me indicates Watson is going into the season on really thin ice. I mean, yeah, but what do you do with him? Like, you can't trade Deshaun Watson, can you? Like, who would take that?
No, I mean, you have so much money tied up and guaranteed, but I mean that didn't stop the Broncos from giving up.
You might be able to trade. You might be able to do a trade with Arizona Cardinals down the road
for oh boy,
trade for trade. Kyler Murray.
Kyler Murray is another one where I'm not sure. Yeah, it feels like the quarterbacks were getting money early, as opposed to the way it used to be, where they would get it after they had already played these great seasons. Now it feels like ahead.
How much time are you giving Dak Prescott?
Sounds like he's on make it or break it year.
Yeah,
it sounds like out of Dallas.
He's got to win in the postseason. Like, he's done everything else. He just can't get them across the hump in the postseason.
This is my problem. I saw a picture. I didn't get to really actually read the post. I don't even know who posted it, but it's a picture of Ezekiel Elliott, CeeDee Lamb, Parsons, Gallup,
mm-hmm.
Dak Prescott, and probably one other player that I'm missing out right now. But it was a line of just all-star players. At what point is it someone else's fault? If you have a line of 8 people that are all-stars that are supposed to bring it and are getting paid to bring it, at what point does it not just become Dak Prescott's fault?
See, I can't really blame him for the playoff loss this year because the defense. Remember,
defense was trash. They couldn't stop the cold.
What the hell happened? He got blitzed by Green Bay, like the youngest team in the league. So
they forgot their Tylenol medicine, man.
I can't put this playoff loss on Dak, but
he's got to take that next step because really, right now, what he is honestly kind of like a Kirk Cousins. Like, he's really good in the season, but when it comes to
because he made some bad decisions in that playoff game too. He made early
receptions. Dallas is in a weird spot, and they didn't do anything in free agency that I can remember. Nothing huge.
Who would you take, Dak or Kirk?
Dak.
I'd take Dak.
But I mean, is it by a lot?
Yes.
Really? Okay.
I think Dak Prescott's he's a top 3 quarterback in the league.
It's a top 3.
Absolutely. Yeah. As far as him being a quarterback throughout the season, he is the top 3. I'll say top 5. Top 5.
I'll say top 5. I don't even know top 5 because I mean,
he's definitely top 5.
This is Mahomes.
Yes.
Allen.
No.
Burrow.
You'd take Dak before Josh Allen? That's interesting to me.
No, I'm taking Lamar Jackson.
Lamar. Okay, so Mahomes, Lamar,
Burrow.
That's 3.
And then it's between Dak and Allen. And Allen ain't. I mean, really, Purdy might be before all of them.
Hurts?
No.
Tua?
No.
Herbert. They've been to the playoffs.
Herbert has an opportunity to solidify himself this year. But definitely,
Stafford way up there too.
Yeah, Stafford.
We're missing somebody.
Goff is in it.
Goff. I take Goff before I take that.
Yeah.
I'm number 1 pick. I mean, Goff played great last year.
I saw him early.
Yeah.
So Dak probably like a top 10.
I can go with Dak being top 10. And
he's definitely in top 10.
Yeah.
Because and it's only because if we look at his regular season play, it's top level. But when we talk about what's the end goal, it's not translating. So I think we gotta mix the pot and definitely say he's a top 10, not a top 5.
Kind of the same way. But what you just said, you could say the exact same thing about Kirk Cousins, really, because he hadn't had the success in the postseason. But
there's some quarterbacks out there that are just trash all the way through and through.
Oh yeah.
They're out there too. That's why, literally, Kirk Cousins and Dak Prescott, they are the same quarterback in my eyes.
Yeah, Aaron. Yeah, we can't leave Aaron out.
Yeah, I was about to say. I was just thinking, what about Rodgers? Like Rodgers is probably still top 10 when he comes back, right? And they did a lot of stuff in free agency. They fixed the O-line. They added some players. Yeah, the Jets might be in the conversation. And I will say this: in the NFL, really, I feel like it's the only league where you don't need 7 years, like Matt Rule was saying, to rebuild a team. You can literally do it in 2. Like the Rams did it in 2 when McVay got there. Granted, they had Aaron Donald already sitting there when he got there. We have a Derek Brown. Like we have a hole. We got one too.
That was a smoke signal. He was like, "Hey man, just in case we don't be good, this is how long it's gonna take."
This is how it's gonna. Jay-Z 7 years to Bill Rockefeller. So this is what we're
a disclaimer, like a crazy disclaimer.
Willie says, I've been telling Cowboy fans in the Carolinas for a while, the Cowboys will not win another Super Bowl until the Panthers win a Super Bowl.
You know what I miss about not having training camp in Spartanburg is every year there would be this Cowboy fan that would show up and he'd have a Cowboy hat on, Cowboy jersey. Like he would go all to the nines just showing off his Cowboys gear. I wonder if he's going to show up in Charlotte. I want
to get something this year. Why don't we get something together where the 3 of us can do a show at training camp, like live? I don't know if it would be like a restaurant or if it would be actually there or whatever it is, but let's talk to some folks that we know behind the scenes with the Panthers, see if we can get it set up, because that sounds like something where we could really do something really cool and fan interactive if we did it at a sports bar or something like that. Hell, I'd love to do it at TD's bar. Don't we have a bar downtown now?
Yeah, we can probably link that up. Hey, TD, we coming to 1058.
I'm gonna hit your agent up. I've got y'all's contact info from before and see if maybe we can do something like that in August when we're in Charlotte. And shout out to Monster Subs. If I do go down there again, I'm gonna drive all the way to Spartanburg anyway to get a sub. That was the best sub I've had in my life. I've been thinking about it since August. I even told the owner, I'm like, have y'all figured out a way to like ship subs like across state lines or something like that? Because I don't want to drive all the way down there for a sub, but I will. And he was like, no, we ain't figured it out yet. Maybe dry ice and stuff, because they're from up north in Jersey. So good stuff. Let's get to the Ultimate 53, because this was scary times, because I started the running backs this week and I didn't know what was going to happen. I need to pull them up here. So we did fullbacks and running backs this week. If you're just joining us, the Panthers Ultimate 53-man roster we've been putting together here for the past couple of weeks. Actually, you guys have been putting it together, the fans. If you go follow us right now, if you're watching this right now, go follow us at Bleav in Panthers on Twitter, and you're able to vote on these categories. See if I can run this down through memory again. So the head coach is Ron Rivera. He beat John Fox. The offensive coordinator is Dan Henning. The defensive coordinator is Sean McDermott. QB1 is Cam Newton. QB2 is Jake Delhomme. I always get tripped up on the offensive line. The offensive line is Jordan Gross, Travell Wharton, Ryan Khalil, Trey Turner, Taylor Moton. Last week we did tight ends. It was Greg Olson and Wesley Walls. Who am I missing? Wide receivers. Wide receivers ended up being Steve Smith, Moose Muhammad, Ricky Prohl, and DJ Moore. And that leads us to where we are now, which is running backs and fullbacks. And to do this, first of all, the Carolina Panthers have had an insane history with running backs. Since the creation of the team, we've always had a strong run game, regardless of who the coach is. They've always been able to do that. So this was really hard. I split it out to fullbacks and running backs, and the running backs is going to be in groups because there's just too many. And we're probably going to end up taking 4, maybe 5 running backs. We're taking 1 fullback, and that fullback is Mike Tolbert, who got 66 vote. Brad Hoover received 33% of the vote, and Alex Armagh received 0. It was actually hard for me to find fullbacks because there was a stretch where we were
dying breed, brother.
Yeah, there was a stretch where we weren't really running. Brad Hoover might be one of the last ones because Tolbert was kind of a fullback, but kind of a halfback too, right? Stu, you played with him in the same backfield. What was it like playing with the bowling ball Mike Tolbert, the dancing teddy bear?
Oh man, it was fun. Every time that I saw that 35 in front of me, I knew I was safe. But no, man, like, you know, when Tolbert got signed to the Panthers, you know, obviously I watched him throughout his career with the Chargers. We were drafted the same year, so it was just one of those things where you keep your eye on certain guys throughout your tenure. And when he came to the Carolina Panthers, you know, immediately, like, just drawn to him. I mean, his talent is obvious, but, you know, he's just even much more of a greater person, greater father, greater dad. You know, and just he's a guy that I always looked up to as far as, like, you know, the true family man, the guy that has his stuff in order, his priorities are in order. You know, just a pro's pro. But on that field, it was a safe place for me to be around him. He just and because he blocked, and Brad Hoover had the same feel and mentality as a fullback because they both played running back and they both understood, you know, where the runner is thinking and where he's wanting to go and what he's feeling. So going through holes and attacking the line of scrimmage, you know, he can position his body to where I can make an easy read. You know what I'm saying? So not just going up there blowing up a hole, but like giving me, you know, the right shoulder placement to let me really know, oh, I'm gonna bounce this, or oh, I need to cut this back.
See, that's the little things, yeah.
That's the little things, and just the timing too, right? You know, guys that play just full speed 100%, you don't necessarily need that. You need a guy that's got some finesse to it, kind of like slow to, fast through, still approach as a fullback. Because that can allow the running back to gather himself as well. Like, okay, we don't need to hit this thing and attack it 100, you know, miles per hour every time. You need to be at that 70, play at that 70%, and then make that last minute, you know, punch. You know, when you're making your blocks and catching guys off guard.
I'm curious about something because I told you all this when we were talking about putting fullback as a category. Let me see what years did Tolbert actually play in Carolina? 2012 to 2016. So in theory, Mike Tolbert was here in Carolina during the greatest stretch of Carolina Panther football in franchise history. And my friends still clown me about it to this day. But in that stretch, I would always be like, y'all realize like we are like literally unstoppable when Mike Tolbert suits up and plays football. I don't know what it is, but like we were winning games.
You know what it is? Linebackers are like, man, this guy's about to block me. He's about to give me a headache.
Step out the way. Yeah, I mean, it was
this guy's about to give me a headache.
We won with Tolbert as our fullback, and of course Stu in the backfield and at Cam at quarterback and everything else. But I'm staying with this Tolbert tangent here. If Tolbert was in the game, we probably won it, and we won from 2012 to 2016, we won 3 we won 3 division championships.
Yep. Pass pro. He was our pass pro guy. Third and 8. Like he come in there at running back and make sure that Cam was protected, and there was no question about it. And also too, just the receiver that he was out of the backfield, right? A guy that is weighing, 250 plus, able to like just move like ballerina. Like it's amazing to watch, bro.
Bowling ball, the dancing teddy bear, Mike Tolbert. So he's the fullback, and I promised last week I was going to have some sort of visual list so we could see everybody that's on here, and I'll get that together now that the offense this should be completed after next week because the other one I had to do was running back, and I did this the way I did the wide receivers to make it fair because we're taking the top 2 out of each group, and I might do a third group. So I was looking at the running backs. I'm like, some of these guys probably deserve to really be on here, and I don't know how to get them onto the
we'll stash them on
the Dallas here. Squad. Say what now?
We'll stash them on the practice squad. So
yeah, we might need to put a Biaka Patuka on the practice squad. Look, Tim Biaka Patuka was a bad dude. He just had injury concerns, but coming out, I think he was one of our first top picks other than Kerry Collins that first year, and out of Michigan. Was great, but just could not stay on the field. So his career was fairly short here, and a lot of people don't remember him, but I do. So we did running back group number 1. The top 2 will be added, and as it stands right now, Jonathan Stewart leads the vote in this group with 78% of the vote. Deshaun Foster actually is edging out Stephen Davis for number 2, and typically we end it when we pull it up here on the pod. So Stu and Deshaun will probably move on. Running back group number 2 will be added here in a little bit. It'll have Christian McCaffrey, D'Angelo Williams.
You have luck on choosing one for that one.
Yeah. Well, now the top 2 will go forward, but there's going to be some guys in there where you kind of do a second thought, like, like I don't know. And that's why I'm like, I got to take, I guess, 4 of them to make it make sense. I need to make sure we're doing this right so it equals out to 53 because I feel like by the time we get to the defense, I'm gonna have like 60 players.
Yeah, it was like 63.
Make a round of cuts.
Ultimate 53 plus 7. So yeah, Richard's saying give me Deshaun Foster over Biaka Patuka. I mean, Foster was more durable. Foster, does he still have the Super Bowl record for longest touchdown run?
That's a good question.
I think he might. I need to look that up. The one against the Patriots, he takes off running. The icon, he goes across the end zone in the air, like flying across with the visor and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I know Moose and Jake still have the record for longest touchdown passes.
I think that still stands for sure.
Because that's in Hall of Fame up in Canada.
And then Dan Morgan might have still the most tackles in a game, right?
I think he does. Yeah, I think he does. That Super Bowl, man. You want to talk about Super Bowls, like both of them that we were in, but that Patriots-Panthers Super Bowl 38 was the weirdest Super Bowl I've probably ever watched in my life because the first quarter, nobody scored. It was nothing. And then second quarter, it kind of bottomed out. Third quarter kind of went back to the way the first was. And then the fourth quarter was just a shootout. Just Jake Delhomme, and you're watching the beginning of Tom Brady basically just going back and forth. And there's an image of Jake Delhomme, I think it was after he threw that past the Moose, where he's talking smack to, I think it's Willie McGinnis. And you can just see the Cajun coming out of his mouth, just like talking smack to him, like you like that or something to that effect. So there's going to be some guys coming off of both of those NFC championship teams from 2003 and 2015. Madsen says we need to get a huge fullback again in Carolina and a great O-line. I think they're kind of working on that. Willie says suggestions for your training camp show: TD, Luke, Steve Smith, and Greg Olson. That'd be fantastic. I don't think we would say no to that. So we make that happen, then so be it. We'll see what we can do with that.
What position did Jadeveon Clowney play in high school?
Running back.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That boy is 6'3", 200 pounds, and he was out there crushing people.
Oh, my God. You got Jadeveon Clowney coming at you, holding the football? Like,
yeah.
Derrick Henry.
Ain't no business decision made. It's just,
there you go.
Nah, I ain't doing that.
Going through it. What about Anthony Johnson as a running back? I haven't heard that name in a long time. I think he popped up when I was looking through the again, there was a lot of running backs that we could put in here. So it's going to get interesting, but maybe I throw him into the next category here. But yeah, and Davis was a beast. Stephen Davis just one of the hardest runners. We immediately fell in love with Stephen Davis when we got him from Washington.
One of the most patient runners.
Yeah, he would stand there and just wait for that hole, and then he'd pop through it and go. And I think Hoover was his fullback. So that was the John Fox era. That's when they were really just grinding.
Lock them up, make them pay.
Yeah, and I want us to get back to that.
Lock them up, make them pay, baby.
I'll give love to Nick Goings because Nick Goings, I think it was 2005. The 2005 playoff run when Steve Smith went off, like in the playoffs, like he beat the Bears, and then I think he won the Triple Crown that year in 2005. And Nick Goings, that was the year we ran out of running backs. We got to Seattle, and I think it was the NFC Championship game, and we had Goings got like a concussion or something. And
the running back crew was
everybody. We had nobody. Yeah,
in Seattle. It was against Seattle. I remember that.
And it got to a point where we had to put Smitty out there like on a kickoff return or something because we just couldn't. It was crazy. And who's the running back for Seattle?
It was Sean Alexander.
Sean Alexander. Yeah, that was the Sean Alexander year when he was on the Madden cover and all that stuff.
Yeah, he was out there going crazy.
Yeah, they played Pittsburgh. So that's where we stand on the Panthers' ultimate 53-man roster. I think that finishes the offense. I can't think of any other position that we had. We did O-line, wide receiver, tight end, quarterback, fullback, running back. I think we're good. So we can move over to the defense. This is where it's going to start getting scary times because
especially linebackers,
defensive tackle. I was just thinking about it the other day. Defensive tackle, Derek Brown, Chris Jenkins, Brinson Buckner. It's going to get scary. The linebacker, I don't even know how to do this. We need to decide what defense are we running because that'll help me figure out: are we running a 3-4 or are we running a 4-3? Because that'll change how many linemen and linebackers get in here.
I'd like to go 4-3.
I was going to say 4-3.
Yeah,
because you can still get. If we're taking depth,
I think you look at the best teams that Carolina's had, and you just look at the defenses that were being ran.
That's where I was going to go. Yeah, the two teams that made it to the Super Bowl were running 4-3 defenses, and had defensive ends. On both sides. The defensive ends. Pep. I don't even know if Pep needs to even be. He was just the first ballot Hall of Famer. Do we even need to put him on this? Or should we just push him along behind Khalil?
Yes, he deserves to be on everything that is
all right, in order. Pep in there. Pep, from Pep to Brian
all
Burns.
All get you automatic.
You should just
on the roster.
Send them on through. Now, if we were doing 3, see, this is going to change some stuff, though, because if you do 4-3, what happens to guys like Greg Lloyd or Kevin Green or Sam Mills that played in the 3-4?
Find a spot for him.
Man, look, Sam Mills is a no-brainer.
He got the linebacker category. He got to be just pushed along, right? He's got a statue.
The Hall of Famer.
Yeah, he's got a statue.
Yes.
He's
what the Carolina Panthers is. So, he is the DNA. So you can't have a 53-man roster without the DNA.
That's true. Yeah, they keep. Yeah, so he's got to be in there. And I just thought about this because I say this all the time about Michael Jordan and why he's different than everybody else. Beside the last 3-4 years he played for the Bulls, the man had to literally drive by a statue of himself to go to work, and that's literally that's me. Look at that. And Sam Mills had to do the same thing when he came back and coached. There's a statue of the dude outside the building that he's going into work for. I'm like, how cool is that? That's a flex. You're like, yo, there's a statue of me. I'm still here. There's a statue of me.
The roses were given at a very great time in life.
Yeah. So I never put that together, but because I always thought Mike was just separate by himself, but Sam Mills had the same thing going on.
That's the thing I think a lot of organizations really across all sports need to do a much better job of is making sure the people that they honor like that actually get the opportunity to experience that.
Experience it.
Kieran makes a great
Aaron Donald right now.
Just put a statue. Go ahead
and put a statue of him. Make it nice.
Year 4.
Make it gold.
Whatever it is, let's put it up there. Kieran says, whatever scheme McDermott used, since he is who we use as defensive coordinator, that makes total sense, Kieran. So whatever McDermott's defense is, McDermott was a 3-4, don't he? Or a hybrid kind of.
I thought it was more 4-3, but I could be wrong.
We'll go check. But that's a great point. That we should run that kind of defense. So, and see, they're already starting to think about this. Linebackers: Luke Kuechly, Dan Morgan, Thomas Day. I don't know how we're gonna do the linebackers. Like, I have no idea. John Beeson. Like,
yeah, Beast. Oh,
Lamar
boy.
Latham. Like, I don't know how we're gonna do this. People forget how big of a deal Kevin Green was. He would have led the league in sacks if it wasn't for Reggie White. Yeah, he had a great year that first year he came here.
Like DB's got Chris Gamble.
Yeah,
Cap Wonderland.
Mike Minter.
Charles Godfrey.
Ooh, yeah, Godfrey. I'd put Dante Jackson on that list in terms of being considered. Peanut Tillman, even though he's only here for like a year or two, but the impact, like, it's going to get crazy, man. The defense is going to be wild. So we'll start that next week, and we'll really try to break this down. But when we're done, we should have an ultimate roster for the Panthers. It looks pretty good. Anything you guys got before we head out of here? Because Mike Rucker. I didn't even mention Mike Rucker's name. Good Lord. Like, this is going to be hard. This is going to be really hard.
Good problem.
Josh Norman, corner in the secondary. Like, Eric Davis.
Yeah.
Eric Davis, cornerback. Like, I forgot some of these dudes played here. I'm just like, man, Josh Norman in his prime was different. He was. He really was.
Yeah, Jay-Z made a song about Josh Norman.
What?
Did he?
Yeah.
What song did he make?
What?
What song did he make about Josh Norman?
And what? I'm gonna pull up the lyric for you.
Yeah. Oh gosh, we've always had phenomenal linebackers. It's our curse for this ultimate 53. Yeah, literally like 10 linebackers could legit make a case to get on this this thing. Hell, even our
what
backup
we should do after the 53 is put the depth chart together.
Figure out who would be starting, and that might be even harder. We can do that too. That'd actually be pretty cool. Kieran actually found it for you, Stu. I perform like Josh Norman. I ain't normal.
Yeah, there it is.
What song is this from? Like,
I got the keys. I got the keys. Jay-Z.
Oh, okay.
DJ Khaled.
All right. Okay.
I got the keys. I got the keys.
I'm gonna go listen to it again now. I think we're gonna go here for the week. So, again, we've added Stu and who's Mike Tolbert and Deshaun Foster get added on to the 53. Running back group number 2 actually will be out here a little bit later on. So we'll get our running back room together, and then we'll start focusing on the defense. And then +2, we didn't get to it today, but we'll start it next week. Schuyler has started doing his mock drafts because the draft is coming up here in like a month, and we hadn't really started digging into it yet, but it's about time to. So really starting next week, we'll start looking at prospects and guys that we might want to get. We won't go deep in the weeds, like who should we get in the 6th round, that kind of thing, because at that point you're getting really deep in the weeds. But we kind of have control over those 2 second-round picks. We can kind of figure out what we want to do there. So we can start looking into who might still be there from picks 33 to 60, whatever it is, at the end of the second. So that's something to look forward to as well. So if you guys out there in the gallery have particular players, and I've seen some of them in the comment section that you want us to take a look at, post it in there and we'll look at it. I know we've been high on a couple people already. Zach Frazier's name is mentioned on the show a couple of times from West Virginia, the center. Although now we're looking at maybe Corbett moving the center. So do you still draft Frazier at center, or do you go just best player available as soon as you get a chance to? So my boy Blue said, are we going to talk about the UFL today? My San Antonio Brahmas shocked the world. I could believe
we got to pick a team. I forgot about that.
I forgot. We were supposed to pick a team. There's only like 8 teams though, right? I think I saw a graphic.
Yeah. Matt Corral's in the UFL. I saw he was slinging the rock.
I saw a highlight of him throwing a touchdown.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm going with Matt Corral's team.
Whose team is he playing for? Hold on.
I don't even. Is it even on ESPN?
The Birmingham.
Yeah, it's on a lot. It's on ESPN, ABC, Fox.
I'm rocking with the Birmingham Stallions.
Is that where he is? Birmingham?
Yeah.
Yeah. They beat the Arlington Renegades to start the season yesterday.
I don't even
Stallions the Stallions had 409 yards total.
Oh, let me see what
27-14 victory.
Oh, I gotta go with my guy Anthony Becht with the Battlehawks. West Virginia tight end. He's got.
Yeah,
he
whatever.
followed me on Twitter. Like he was my first. Like when I knew I started to make some progress in this business when he followed me, like back in like 2016. I was like, oh my God, Anthony Beck followed me. So
you must be over there speaking that knowledge, boy.
Corral threw. He went 12 for 21 for 201 yards with a touchdown and an interception. He had 4 rushes for 25 yards and a comeback win. So maybe, especially with March Madness going on, it was hard to keep up.
You got to choose somebody else. You got to choose somebody else, Desmond.
So, do we each going to pick a team separately? Like we each have
I got Birmingham.
Who did you take, Schuyler?
Battlehawks.
I might go with the Memphis Showboats because they're the closest team to us.
Showboats. That sounds like
you sound like a show. That sounds like a bad name. Sounds like a bad team.
They do sound like they just put together. Like what's going on here and just
y'all be out there showboating all you want to. You're gonna get slapped upside your head.
Street Hoops. Do y'all remember the video game Street Hoops or whatever it was called?
Oh, NBA Street.
NBA Street.
NBA Street. Yeah.
That sounds like one of the names off of there.
The Showboats. Yeah, that does. The Memphis Showboats. So I'll see if I'm gonna pick that for my team, and we will start watching the UFL. The Rock's behind it. Like I'm all everything the Rock is doing right now. I'm all in. Like he's back to WWE. It's interesting. It's great.
64-yard field goal.
I saw that too. Yeah, I saw that too.
First field goal since like high school or something.
Mm-hmm. I don't know how that's even possible, but I watched it. I was like, "What is this?" And I was like, "Oh, he hit that. It was 64 yards." So there's football going on in the UFL. The Rock.
Shout out to my Seattle Mariners. They're 2-2. They opened up their debut on Thursday.
I need a baseball team.
Pirates, baby, 4-0.
See,
yeah, y'all 4-0, huh?
Aren't the Yankees 4-0 too right now?
Pirates and Yankees, only 4-0 teams. Yep.
So, Schuyler, how can you really gauge how good a team is going to be with so many games in a baseball season, and we're just starting? How can you really gauge how you're going to be?
Mm-mm.
Well, don't be the Royals, and you're going to have a chance.
I mean, the Royals just beat somebody 10-0 or something, didn't they?
No. They've scored 2 runs in 3 games.
Oh, jeez.
But no, I mean, really, in April, it's so hard. It's all consistency. Like, if you don't have a bullpen, you don't have a chance. But that would be my number one indicator. But you really don't have a good feeling until you hit like that first week of June.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say it's got to be hot. Well, once it gets hot outside, and then you kind of see what's going on.
It takes a while to warm up.
Yeah, because by then too, everything's pretty much over except for the NBA Finals, and that's when you really start focusing on baseball and get into the dog days of summer and all that good stuff. But I need to pick a baseball team. Maybe I'm gonna ride with the Braves. I should. They're really good. It's the easy pick. It's the Braves, man. They're right here. Well, not right here, but they're the closest thing to us. Get us a baseball team.
So the Pirates got the number 3 best bullpen then.
Yes,
so
sir.
Y'all gonna be doing all right this year, huh?
The starting rotation is the question.
That
But
sounds so
if
weird.
they can smooth some things out there, they got a chance.
All right, so we got a bunch of stuff to keep up with. UFL, Major League Baseball, the Final Four is this week, upcoming weekend, and NC State is in it. So, like, as an 11 seed. So, UConn is out there lurking, trying to do their best UNLV impression. Purdue is out there with Zach Edey dropping 40 bombs on people. Alabama is still here thanks, Carolina. Alabama is still here, and we'll get to the Final Four stuff. By the time we get back next week, we'll be talking about the national championship game. Either it already happened or it's about to happen. So, we got all that too. And again, we'll get into our draft analysis here for the Panthers because they really have flipped this free agency into them being able to just pick best player available, in my opinion, in the draft. They can really sit back and wait for players to fall to them. So we'll look at that. Go to All Panthers SI online, and you can actually see Schuyler's column, his mock 7-round draft for the Panthers, and he'll be updating it each week. So you can get an idea.
I'll pin it on my Twitter profile too.
Pin it on his Twitter. So go to Callihan _ and follow him there. And you can get the latest news and notes there. Plus, anybody else we pick up, we're still tracking the Stephon Gilmore conversation, see if they sign him. They'll probably happen in the next 10 minutes after we get off the air. So that's usually what happens. So we'll see if they sign Gilmore before the day is over. But we are out of time. We're going to get out of here. I'm Desmond Johnson for Schuyler Callihan and Jonathan Stewart. You've been watching and listening to the Bleav in Panthers podcast here on Bleav Podcast Networks, brought to you by Bet Online and Cut. We'll see you guys next week. Keep pounding.